Namo Narayana, welcome back. Today we're doing chapter 14 of Canto 4, entitled The Story of King Vena. The great sages, headed by Bhrigu, were always thinking of the welfare of the people in general. When they saw that in the absence of King Anga, there was no one to protect the interests of the people, they understood that without a ruler, the people would become independent and non-regulated. The great sages then called for the Queen Mother, Sunita, and with her permission they installed Vena on the throne as master of the world. All the ministers, however, disagreed with this. It was already known that Vena was very severe and cruel. Therefore, as soon as all the thieves and rogues in the state heard of his ascendance to the royal throne, they became very much afraid of him. Indeed, they hid themselves here and there as rats hid themselves from snakes. When the king ascended to the throne, he became all-powerful, with 8 kinds of opulences. Consequently, he became too proud. By virtue of his false prestige, he considered himself to be greater than anyone. Thus he began to insult great personalities. When he became overly blind due to his opulences, King Vena mounted a chariot and like an uncontrolled elephant began to travel through the kingdom, causing the sky and earth to tremble wherever he went. All the twice-born brahmanas were forbidden henceforth to perform any sacrifice, and they were also forbidden to give charity or offer clarified butter. Thus King Vena sounded kettle drums throughout the countryside. In other words, he stopped all kinds of religious rituals. Therefore all the great sages assembled together, and after observing cruel Vena's atrocities, concluded that a great danger and catastrophe was approaching the people of the world. Thus, out of compassion, they began to talk amongst themselves, for they themselves were the performers of the sacrifices. When the great sages consulted one another, they saw that the people were in a dangerous position from both directions. When a fire blazes on both ends of a log, the ants in the middle are in a very dangerous situation. Similarly, at that time the people in general were in a dangerous position due to an irresponsible king on one side and thieves and rogues on the other. Thinking to save the state from irregularity, the sages began to consider that it was due to a political crisis that they made Vena king, although he was not qualified. But alas, now the people were being disturbed by the king himself. Under such circumstances, how could the people be happy? The sages began to think within themselves. Because he was born from the womb of Sunita, King Vena is by nature very mischievous. Supporting this mischievous king is exactly like maintaining a snake with milk. Now he has become a source of all difficulties. We appointed this Vena king of the state in order to give protection to the citizens, but now he has become the enemy of the citizens. Despite all these discrepancies, we should at once try to pacify him. By doing so, we may not be touched by the sinful results caused by him. Of course, we were completely aware of his mischievous nature, yet we nevertheless enthroned him. If we cannot persuade King Vena to accept our advice, he will be condemned by the public and we will join them. Thus, by our prowess, we shall burn him to the ashes. The great sages, having thus decided, approached King Vena. Concealing their real anger, they pacified him with sweet words and then spoke as follows. Dear King, we have come to give you good advice. Kindly hear us with great attention. By doing so, your duration of life and your opulence, strength, and reputation will increase. Those who live according to religious principles, and those who follow them by words, mind, body, and intelligence, are elevated to the heavenly kingdom, which is devoid of all miseries. Thus, being rid of the material influence, they achieve unlimited happiness in life. O great hero, for this reason you should not be the cause of spoiling the spiritual life of the general populace. If their spiritual life is spoiled because of your activities, you will certainly fall down from your opulent and royal position. When the king protects the citizens from the disturbances of mischievous ministers, as well as from thieves and rogues, he can, by virtue of such pious activities, accept taxes given by his subjects. Thus a pious king can certainly enjoy himself in this world as well as in the life after death. The king is supposed to be pious, in whose state and cities the general populace strictly observes the system of 8 social orders of Varna and Ashrama, and where all citizens engage in worshipping the Lord by their particular occupations. Noble one, if the king sees that the Lord, the original cause of the cosmic manifestation and the supersoul within everyone, is worshipped, the Lord will be satisfied. The Lord is worshipped by the great demigods who are controllers of universal affairs. When he is satisfied, nothing is impossible to achieve. For this reason, all the demigods, presiding deities of different planets, as well as the inhabitants of their planets, take great pleasure in offering all kinds of paraphernalia for his worship. Dear King, the Lord, along with the predominating deities, is the enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices in all planets. The Lord is the sum total of the 3 Vedas, the owner of everything, and the ultimate goal of all austerity. Therefore, your countrymen should engage in performing various sacrifices for your elevation. Indeed, you should always direct them towards the offering of sacrifices. When all the Brahmanas engage in performing sacrifices in your kingdom, all the demigods, who are plenary expansions of the Lord, will be very much satisfied by their activities, and will give you your desired result. Therefore, O hero, do not stop the sacrificial performances. If you stop them, you will disrespect the demigods. I'm actually going to pause there. It's verse 22. The ministers, sages, whoever made a mistake, they put a man in charge who they should not have put in charge, because now it's all kind of backfiring on them. Things are getting worse. What a surprise. It's funny, I see this all the time. I watch politics all the time, and I see people who elect a politician and like, oh, it's not a good guy, but we got to have somebody. So you elect the bad guy, and then something happens, and you're like, yeah, okay, well, I told you so. Is that what we say to these folks? They're blind, though. They keep deluding themselves that, oh, well, maybe someday it'll get better, even though it's gotten worse, so maybe it'll just go back to the way it was. I know a town that has a town manager that actually lost their town manager. They installed someone in the position who probably was decent and qualified, but he immediately turned into someone that just was creating waves. He demanded a raise. He didn't live in town. The energy wasn't good. And so, yes, you put someone in because you needed somebody, but had you waited, may have things been better or whatever? Or could you have just survived a little longer without a town manager? So, sometimes rushing to put someone in power, was there an alternative choice? That's the first thing we learn here. Second thing is, these sages are telling him, you need to let the sacrifices happen, and you're going to profit from them. Now, I don't know the response of King Vena. We'll find out in the end of this chapter. But here's the thing. They're actually pleading to his material sense. They're actually saying, you like stuff and power and control? Guess what? You bring those sacrifices back, you're going to get all that stuff and power and control. They're not telling him he should honor God. That wasn't in their argument. Their argument is basically, it'll be good for your reputation, it'll be good for you, and you'll get everything you want. So it's a little sad that that's what they have to do. They have to feed the demon what the demon wants in order to just get back what the demon destroyed. Does that make sense? The demon wants power. They're feeding him power just to get a little bit of something they could have avoided had they made a better choice. So I think the message here is pretty clear, but you may have a different interpretation, and I welcome you to add that interpretation down below. I would love to hear it, believe it or not. This is just my off-the-cuff mood as I read this. So, yeah, would love to hear from you, and in the next chapter we'll finish up... in the next video we'll finish up this chapter, not the next chapter we'll finish this video. So thanks for watching. As always, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. You can also email me down below and check out my website. I'm a writer, and maybe there's something I've done that you like. Until next time, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.